Hello Redditors, welcome back to Tales Against Humanity. Now, let's get started. In today's episode, after 7 RMA, the audio chip is still defective. To set the stage, until recently I worked in an outsourced escalation team for smartphone manufacturer, specifically on the tech support side. Historically, this position was a standard helpdesk-style role filled by actual IT professionals, but over time as costs were cut, the scope of support was reduced and the required qualifications were reduced until it was a big job title for very basic support and equally minimal pay and benefits, there for the taking by suckers like myself with big dreams and no qualifications. As an escalation team, we frequently received cases where lower levels of support performed effectively, no troubleshooting, and it was only escalated after processing multiple RMA, with the customer continuing to complain of issues, but now significantly more upset and demanding things that will never happen and won't actually help. Let's declare our variables. Mr. Ears, expert on audio chips, he's willed into existence. Has the best hearing you'll ever encounter in anyone his age, and clearly has a few more dollars than cents. Myself, a very green and inexperienced sucker who still thinks he's Steve Jobs or something while working in an outsourced call center for peanuts. Cool Flower 700-something. A ubiquitous SoC series which, among other things, negates the need for a dedicated audio chip. Fancy Phone 3. A relatively high-end device powered by a Cool Flower 700-something SoC. Fancy Phone 4. The relatively high-end successor to the Fancy Phone 3 powered by a newer Cool Flower 700-something SoC. Fancy Phone 5, the predicted successor to the Fancy Phone 4 presumably powered by a newer Cool Flower 700-something SoC, but with a different audio chip fused on because Mr. Ears said so. We begin our day with a case scheduled for a callback with Mr. Ears regarding his Fancy Phone 3. He's processed 3 replacements for the exact same issue, with minimal troubleshooting performed before he was escalated to us. Mr. Ears is complaining that the audio chip is defective because he can't hear callers, and he needs to know what we will do to fix the audio chip. I give Mr. Ears a call, and it goes something like this. Mr. Ears, I've had 3 of these Fancy Phone 3s, and all had the same problem with the audio chip, where callers are too quiet and I can't hear them. What audio chip is in these things? You clearly need to change chips. Myself, well, the good news here is I get direct reports from our engineers if there are any problems with the hardware or software of our phones, and I have no such bulletins and I don't tons of other reports of this behavior. So let's perform some troubleshooting to try to narrow this down. So we go through the standard troubleshooting processes, with Mr. Ears protesting at every step because I know it's a problem with the audio chip. You need to source a different audio chip. We get to the point where I've ruled out every other possible cause and I'm pretty sure I know what's going on. Myself. So at this time, we fully ruled out any potential software conflicts, any accessory conflicts, we've ruled out the SIM, and we've ruled out hardware. At this time, I'm not physically there to confirm this, but I strongly suspect this device is working exactly as designed. Mr. Ears, well, yeah, because you designed it with a bad audio chip. What audio chip is in these things anyways? Myself, there is no dedicated audio chip. Smartphones use a system on a chip where everything is in one package. If there was a problem with the system on a chip, I'd have lots of reports of this behavior and a bulletin from our engineers. As we discussed, I have neither. At this time, the only thing I can do is have you send this device to my office to personally test to confirm whether or not it's working as designed. So we set it up, with Mr. Ears babbling some more about the audio chip that he continues to insist both exists and is defective. But of course I have to cross-ship a 4th replacement. Fancy Phone 3 to him because nothing can be easy like that. I receive the device, insert an active SIM and test it, and it's loud. I reduce it to around 1/3 volume and my ears are ringing from the sheer loudness of this phone on calls. So we sit down and call Mr. Ears again. Mr. Ears, you sent me another Fancy Phone 3 with the same audio chip. You told me you'd send me one with a different audio chip. At this point, it's clear he's just remembering what he wants to remember being told. Myself, I told you no such thing. I told you there is no audio chip. There is no problem with the audio on this model. Now, I tested your phone myself and it was loud. I can confirm that this phone is working exactly as designed. Mr. Ears, now that's impossible. Let me tell you, My doctor has tested my hearing multiple times and he says it's perfect. He's never seen someone my age with better hearing. You need to tell your engineers to use a different audio chip. So I wrap up the call while repeating the operating as designed line until he gives up, including of course refusing to send yet another replacement to personally test the last one I cross-shipped, close the case, and move on. Fast forward to about 10 months later. We've now released the Fancy Phone 4 several months prior. All of the strange software teething issues that only customers will introduce have been ironed out, and the Fancy Phone 4 is pretty solid and stable. Who do I see in my queue this day but Mr. Ears complaining about the audio chip on the Fancy Phone 4, and I have to quadruple check that I'm reading things right because everything is identical to last year with the Fancy Phone 3. So I give Mr. Ears a call and immediately feel the Groundhog Day set in Mr. Ears. I've had 3 of these Fancy Phone 4s, and all had the same problem with the audio chip, where callers are too quiet and I can't hear them. You said they'd use a different audio chip on future phones. How could they not fix the audio chip still? Myself, I told you no such thing. I told you there is no audio chip, there is no problem with the audio on the Fancy Phone 3, and confirm your Fancy Phone 3 was working as designed. Mr. Ears, I can't believe your engineers use the same audio chip again. What audio chip is in these things anyways? I know it's not my ears because my doctor has tested my hearing multiple times and he says it's perfect. He's never seen someone my age with better hearing. Myself, as we discussed a year ago, there is no dedicated audio chip. Smartphones use a system on a chip, where everything is in one package. If there was a problem with the system on a chip, I'd have lots of reports of this behavior and a bulletin from our engineers, which we do not have once again. Let's perform some troubleshooting to rule things out. We proceed to exhaust troubleshooting, once again with Mr. Ears protesting at every step, because I know it's a problem with the audio chip, and I once again have to break the news to him myself. So at this time we've fully ruled out any potential software conflicts, any accessory conflicts. We've ruled out the SIM, and we've ruled out hardware. At this time I can say your device is working exactly as designed. Mr. Ears, no, that's impossible. Let me tell you, my doctor has tested my hearing multiple times and he says it's perfect. He's never seen someone my age with better hearing. You need to tell your engineers to use a different audio chip. I can't believe you use the same audio chip again. Please tell me the Fancy Phone 5 will use a different audio chip. We proceed to go around in circles and he slowly breaks down to where he sounds really depressed as he keeps repeating about how great his hearing is, but sounding less and less certain of it. I never really heard back from Mr. Ears, but there was no Fancy Phone 5 for him to buy, as we dropped that product line entirely. Probably because our engineers never could fix the problem with the audio chip and nothing to do with changing market conditions that made the entire Fancy Phone line obsolete and stale by the time the Fancy Phone 4 was released. Story 2. I'm with the internet. Ring ring. Helpdesk, this is Av. Are you the guys in charge of the internet? I'm sorry, who am I speaking with? My name is Chris, unintelligible. Do you work for company? No, but I provide the internet. Oh, so you work for Cox? No, I provide the internet and I need to talk with your internet people. Our internet people is Cox. No, I want your people that deal with the internet. But I thought you provided the internet, sir. Listen, kid, I have been on the phone for over an hour trying to get to your internet people. Are you going to get me to them or not? Sir, you're talking to the internal help desk. Our line is for employees only. What was your name again? Unintelligible, can you spell that for me? Why? Why do you need to know how to spell my name? I have to fill in the information for the ticket on our call, sir. I don't need a ticket, I need to talk to your internet people. No one talks directly to that team, sir. They only get contacted through tickets, and if you were our account manager for Cox, you would know who their liaison is. Just transfer me. I cannot. Well, fine. I guess you don't want internet then. Weirdly enough, we never lost internet connection, and our security team got a ticket for blocking a certain number from ever calling any company lines again. And everyone else who was traced through that call was given a lengthy training session on why you don't transfer people that can't identify themselves or provide any information to prove they are who they are. Story 3. Old lady brings network engineer back to their roots. Little background, I'm a network engineer for a company providing data to multifamily spaces, who has a decent history of tech support and computer repair. There was a tenant who needed help setting up a router, and while normally this would warrant a CS Tech or LV Tech, it was next to my house, and hey, it's Friday. I'll help her and head home. Everything goes smooth. Router is set up, speeds are fine. But she has a few questions. Typical stuff, but finally she gets to, what about my camera? Can people see me? The security on your router should be fine, but if you're really worried, you can put some tape over the camera. At this moment her face lights up, and she goes, oh, I've done that. Does this look good? She proudly gestures over to her monitor, and admittedly I'm a little confused. I don't see any tape. I don't even see a camera. Sorry, I don't see anything. She points to the bottom right of the screen, where there is a small piece of clear Scotch tape. Okay, I see the tape, but no camera. The camera is right beneath it. But do I need to get different tape? If you were trying to block the view, yeah, but there's no camera there. That's just part of your screen. She had taped over the Windows meeting icon. There was no camera on her system. It took a bit of explaining, but it really brought me back to doing old folk tech support.